Great to have you back, John. This is my boy Johnny Sig. He's back on the KO Nation Platinum Fights podcast. I guess I got to call it Platinum Fights podcast because that's the name of my YouTube channel. So
The
it's kind of
podcast formerly known as the podcast,
well,
formerly known as the podcast,
yeah.
formerly known as. That's what I go by
I
nowadays.
should just
Great to be
call it
back, Kev.
the symbol. You know, kind of like what Prince did when
Exactly.
he changed his
That's
name
where
to
I was
Symbol.
going with this,
But
brother.
anyways, we're back. We're gonna talk about Usyk and Tyson Fury, the great heavyweight fight. Great. Kind of called you this morning on an impulse, and I was like, you know what? Me and John need to do a show because I miss doing shows with you. It's just a lot of fun. And since it's been a while, there's actually a lot to talk about because sometimes we'll do a show, and probably the previous show when we were doing shows more often, you kind of already covered certain things. So since it's been a little bit of a minute, a lot to talk about, and also just a lot going on in the sport of boxing this year. I mean, it's been all over the place. You got these Saudis involved now, and they're just throwing boatloads of money at the sport of boxing, and we're getting some good fights. This weekend, we had the heavyweight unification bout for the undisputed heavyweight championship. Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk. You can start wherever you want, John, on this one.
First of all, it's great to be back. We got the lethal weapon of podcasting. Riggs and Murtaugh are back. Of course, me being Riggs, you being Murtaugh, me being the crazier of the two, you being the mild-mannered, of course.
Yeah.
But the excitement in heavyweight boxing is back, baby. And the excitement in boxing is back because me and Kevin are back. No, here's what's up. Boxing is doing great, Kev. We could talk about the Saudi money coming in a moment. But I tell you what, man, big-time boxing has been back and is definitely stepped up and has rose to the occasion on many a night. Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, that was great. And most recently, like you just mentioned, Usyk and Tyson Fury. Man, what a great fight that was, Kevin. A whole lot to unpack. A classic, a throwback fight, if you will, for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. For the first time, we were all celebrating it as that since Lennox Lewis and Evander Holyfield did it or tried to do it back in '99 with a controversial draw that was rendered back then. This time we get a clear verdict, although a little controversial. We could talk about the scoring in a moment, Kev, but let's celebrate the great fight that was Usyk beating Tyson Fury by decision.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where all you hope for is that the fights live up to the hype. And this fight, I think it lived up to the hype and probably exceeded it. And a little bit, I guess you could say. I mean, it probably should have been hyped up even more because it wasn't a whole lot of buzz, big time buzz going into it. But I think there was post-fight, there was a lot of buzz. It was, I mean, it's kind of the reason why you love boxing because Tyson Fury seemed like, for the most part, he was in control for the first 7-8 rounds. And you thought, how is Usyk gonna come back from this? I mean, he's just so much smaller. He's not known as a huge puncher, so how is he gonna dig himself out of this hole? And it was almost like out of nowhere. It was like Tyson Fury just got caught sleeping a little bit.
Well, that's the real question is where it changed. Because if we look at this thing and unpack it from the very first round, feel out round, both fighters doing their thing. We get to the second round. We see Tyson Fury really dialed in early. Great jab. Yeah. Those right uppercuts were working brilliantly against the southpaw stance of Usyk. It was just screaming for it. The writing was on the wall for the uppercuts. Fury was landing them at will, timing him brilliantly, keeping a great distance at bay with the jab. Usyk looked frustrated, furious at times, didn't know what to do. Fury being the big man, using that stick, leaning on him, doing everything he had to do. It looked like a nightmare scenario for Usyk. But then guess what? The crowd, Kevin. I don't know if you noticed it, man. And it's going to sound a little corny, a little crazy. This is where the crazy Riggs comes out in me because we all know I'm a passionate, emotional cat. But that Ukrainian crowd started firing up. And I saw Usyk's eyes. Guys, pull this back around the 6th or 7th round. He bit down on his gum shield. Those eyes fired up, bro. And he went to work. And I noticed him getting in that ass just a little bit on Tyson Fury, little by little, chipping away. And then bang, he started landing his shots. And Tyson Fury seemed to be bothered very early by a lot of those. And I was watching the fight with my wife. Luckily, she gets into this shit, and she actually dropped science on me. She started noticing it too. And we noticed that Fury was starting to look uncomfortable. And then once those legs started getting wobbly from the waist down, he started to, from the waist down, he wasn't looking so good. Legs started getting a little wobbly.
Yeah.
And you know what happened from there, Kev? He went down hard.
I mean, I kind of saw it more what occurred. I'm not saying I'm disagreeing with your assessment, but kind of what I saw more was Tyson Fury was kind of doing the same thing over and over. And yes, it was effective, but Usyk is not a dumb fighter. I mean, he has a high boxing IQ, but obviously when a guy is 6'9", it's going to take you a while to kind of get your range and get the punches off and get the trajectory on him that you want. And because Fury was so comfortable with what he was doing and it was effective, he kind of stuck to it and he didn't switch his game plan up. And I think he should have, because it would have given Usyk some different looks, because he was kind of just moving with his back on the ropes, moving one way. He wasn't really moving side to side. He was kind of moving in one direction. And then setting up, that nice uppercut that he was throwing, that right hand uppercut to the body. And he landed a couple uppercuts to the head also. And then keeping him at bay with his jab. But Usyk, he was resilient, because, I mean, some of those punches, I mean, they lifted him off the ground and he kept coming forward. I mean, he wasn't coming forward recklessly, though. He was definitely very calculated in his attack. And kind of what happened was Fury probably was caught sleeping a little bit, and Usyk got in range to land that big shot. And then after that, it was like Usyk, or not Usyk, but Fury was like on the moon or somewhere. He was in another world because
he was walking.
I'd never seen a guy move around the ring backwards in that manner. I mean, just the fact that he was able to stay up is remarkable, because he was all over the place. I mean, the ropes held him up, but still, and then he came back and made it. And finished the fight actually in a pretty good manner, because the 12th round, I mean, I think that was a round that you could have possibly gotten to Tyson Fury. What do you think?
Absolutely. And he definitely was doing the moonwalk, and I like that. I'm stealing that, bro. For sure. He was on wobbly legs. They always say too, imagine like if you're that big and being drunk and trying to get on your feet after drinking like 30 beers, say, your equilibrium's out, your balance is off. That's where Tyson Fury was, and hurt at the same time, So picking up all that weight, big, massive man that he is, had to deal with all that, And really, Kev, I think it's a tale of 3 fights. And credit, you're right, to Usyk's chin and his core, his body. And he was getting moved, lifted, literally. Not so bad as Frazier versus Foreman, but pretty friggin' bad. I mean, those shots were ridiculous. I wouldn't want to eat them. The tale of 3 fights, because Fury starts it, sets the tone, looking like a nightmare situation, the best version of Fury you could see for Usyk, a nightmare, absolutely. Then Usyk finds his footing, looks like Fury's going to be out of there totally. I'm like, there's no way in hell he's making it to the next round. And Fury just has this ability, man. I credit to him, and him and Usyk are fighting one of the most classic heavyweight bouts of all time, period.
Yeah.
Jesus, people, like the people that are undervaluing this thing, like I say, I hear people like just kind of talking about it, like, yeah, it was a good fight. I'm like, for undisputed heavyweight championship of the world, it doesn't get any better than that.
I think the people that are maybe downplaying it, not all the rounds were scintillating, but the fight had the ebb and flow, and the drama was there.
You felt like somebody could go out at any moment after the 7th round. I mean, felt like fight, it was anyone's fight.
I mean, the fight was basically like it had the bell curve. It was, you kind of saw where Tyson Fury looked like he was in control, and you're like, okay, it looks like he's gonna cruise himself, to a decision, and then out of nowhere, Usyk flipped the script, and this is what makes boxing so great. And one thing I wanted to ask you, just in relation to the tactics, It appeared. Why wasn't Tyson Fury throwing combinations? I just didn't really see many combinations. He was kind of just throwing one punch at a time. What was the reasoning for that? Or did
He
you
didn't
see him
want to
throwing
leave himself
combinations? I
fat.
just didn't see any combination punching at all. And I thought that he might have been more effective and kept Usyk a little bit more off balance if he was throwing combinations, or was he waiting, or was he scared of getting countered, or what was the deal there?
Yeah, he was afraid of leaving himself fat because if you notice, the real momentum changed. I talked about the moment, like the Rocky moment, like, let's go, Usyk, Usyk. The crowd's cheering, going crazy. That was like the emotional moment. But the real point of impact moment was when Usyk punched Fury in the face and that nose busted open. The reason why that punch happened is because Fury was feeling himself. He was going for it because he had all that success in the bank prior to that. And then that nose opened up. And if you notice, Fury could take a punch. He's got a great chin. But like any normal human being, blood bothers you, especially on the inside. You cannot control what happens to your sinuses. It affects your vision. It affects everything, including your hearing, the way you're breathing, with your throat, your stomach, if the blood gets down there. There's a whole list of issues that happen here. And then guess what? You can't breathe. You got your mouthpiece in, your nose is messed up, so your blood is all coming out. It's not a good situation. That changed everything. The trajectory of Tyson Fury throughout the course of that fight was changed with that shot.
And I mean, you really provided a lot of good information there, because there's a lot of people who they never fought before. I mean, I've never fought amateur or anything, so I'm putting myself in that category. I have been in fights, but it's not like the same. But you being a fighter, being a amateur fighter, what's it? Have you ever had your nose broken? And you've never had your nose broken?
That's where I was going. You could see it's crooked. I don't know if you ever noticed, like my eye and the whole socket from eating jabs, cartilage. I could move it. All sorts.
So you've never had your nose broken, but you've had a bloody nose.
Yeah, many times.
Okay, can you just? Right you see me I mean, I guess twitching. You kind of explained that in a little bit, but can you explain that a little bit more? What that's like?
Your eyes,
yes.
Your eyes fill up, tear ducts. Your eyes fill up. It could really knock you off balance in a lot of ways. Gets in your head. Your blood starts rushing. And the messed up part is that any injury you get in boxing, you really have no idea of knowing how bad your face is. You can't feel it. You can't use you got gloves on. You can't feel it. You don't see yourself. And I fought amateur, so we didn't have monitors. I can't look up on the screen. And yeah, you have headgear on, you still bleed. So you don't know until you go in the locker room later and you really get to see it, or a doctor looks at you. Luckily, I never really had bad cuts. But I have had, my nose busted open a couple times pretty bad and some cracked ribs. But yeah, I can only imagine a broken nose is way worse than a bloody nose. I don't know if Tyson Fury broke his nose, but it was pretty bad.
So you feel that just the injury, we'll just call it an injury to his nose.
Absolutely. You could see his eyes blinking. He looked like Ryan Garcia tweeting that night.
So that kind of got him a little bit. Well, actually, you could see it because it did kind of get him a little bit off his game plan because he kept pawing at it with his glove. His focus was not there like it was earlier in the fight. He started, instead of focusing on Usyk, which he was definitely focused on him, that took him his eye a little bit off of what he was doing. And I think Usyk he's such a smart fighter. He picked up on that. Usyk is not the type of fighter where you can do one thing the whole fight and he's not going to figure it out. You got to fight different styles during the fight and kind of change it up to confuse him. And I thought that was something that's what I thought Fury was going to do, was he was going to box him early. And then after he kind of built up a little bit of a lead, then he was going to start doing his dirty boxing, pushing him back, keeping Usyk from being able to mount any form of attack once he got in a desperate situation, because you knew at that time in the fight, Usyk was going to have to be desperate. And Fury never really took advantage of that. He got a little bit too comfortable with the way the fight was going, and I think that cost him in the long run in the fight. So I don't want to talk about that topic too long, but any final thoughts on Fury and Usyk, anything that we didn't cover in this discussion?
I think
so
it's
far?
important for people to stay humble and always focus on what's in front of you, and make sure you seal the deal before you start drinking the champagne or whatever it is you do and celebrate. Tyson Fury is a great character, and I respect him. And I want to put a little message out there about professionalism. You know what? He has backed a lot of stuff up, but Eddie Murphy once said, "What have you done for me lately, Eddie? What have you done for me lately?" Tyson Fury, since getting knocked out and coming back from the ground, the dead, like they said, like The Undertaker in WWE, from Deontay Wilder, yes, to galvanize himself and get off the mat, that was huge, man. But since then, Tyson Fury, you've been talking a lot of shit, and you've been getting beat up by MMA fighters, okay? Coming in looking like a clown, weighing in near close to 400 pounds or whatever. And now you're going out there trying to mock a guy in front of his fans and in front of the world. And then you get clowned and dogged and put on your ass, buddy. You know what? I hate to knock anyone, but you got this coming to you, brother. And this is why people are making memes and all that type of stuff. You say you're a man of God and you say you're humble. Don't make excuses about this fight and say that you felt you won. Don't take this away from Usyk. He beat you up because you were clowning. You've played with your food you didn't eat. You were beating that man's ass.
Well, you know what? Maybe I might be in the minority. I don't think that the decision was controversial. I thought definitely if you had it for Usyk, I wouldn't complain with that at all, because I could see definitely how some of the rounds early, especially the first 6 rounds, I didn't really have Usyk really winning many of those early rounds. I thought maybe after 6 rounds, the fight was probably 4 rounds to 2. The first 2 rounds were probably swing rounds. After that, I think Fury won 4 rounds in a row. You could have given Fury one of the first 2 rounds. That's 5 rounds in the bank right there. Fury wins 2 more rounds. He wins the fight, I believe, by a point. So,
yeah, totally.
So, yeah. So, I mean, I think for Tyson Fury to say think that he won, I think he legitimately could think that he won the fight.
I agree with you there.
The optics of the fight from just a layman watching who doesn't understand scoring and boxing, because Usyk closed the fight stronger. He had the sole knockdown in the fight. He had Fury seriously hurt. Just from the optics of that, it appeared that Usyk won the fight. But from a scoring perspective, I could see probably a point either way. I don't think either fighter really won by more than a round or so.
Let me make this point. We were talking about the scoring, and I totally agree that Tyson Fury should feel that he potentially could have won the fight. And I'm not contradicting myself. My point is that I understand why the judges say, F you, you're going to clown a man instead of fighting him. You're going to dog him and taunt him instead of, working with what is working for you in scoring and winning a fight. You have to continue to fight to add up and win points and score points. I wouldn't be surprised if these judges are like, you know what? Screw this clown. I'm tired of him and his antics. You know what? Give it to Usyk. Nothing's happening. This guy's clowning the other one. The other one's at least trying to jockey for position and trying to box and trying to fight. Who are you going to score the round to? I'm going to score the round to Usyk. Now, I had to fight for Tyson Fury. I thought he won enough rounds early, and the one knockdown wasn't enough. The closing of the show for Usyk was huge. Could have been a draw. Listen, I'm comfortable with that. I don't want Tyson Fury. What did he say about the war in Ukraine? Maybe is the reason why. Come on, man. That's a stupid.
Yeah, that was
clown another fighter, a highly decorated fighter, and to dog him like that, who now is the undisputed champ, heavyweight champ of the world.
Yeah,
that
you gotta
as a
give
boxer, Kev, that's where I get mad. You don't dog a fighter like that in a ring like that. You don't.
Yeah, that was really unnecessary, because he almost contradicted himself, because he was congratulating him, and then 2 seconds later he kind of said,
to quote Tyson Fury, that's not how men do it.
Yeah. So it was bizarre. Maybe he was still a little bit hurt from that that battering he took in that I believe it was the 9th round. But I want to get away from that whole topic, and I want to move on to basically the discussion that I've been hearing around in regards to basically Usyk's place in history, and then Usyk's place currently. Is Usyk the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world? I'm going to ask you, but I'm going to give my opinion first. No, I don't think he's the best fighter pound-for-pound in boxing. I don't think Inoue is. I think it's Terrence Crawford. I'm going to tell you the reason why. Because I've kind of been hearing it's almost like, so people are like prisoners of the moment. So when you see something great, which it was a great performance, he pulled out the victory. He was down. He's fighting a guy that's 40 or 50 pounds bigger than you. Yes, that means a lot. It's a hell of an accomplishment in my mind and in the minds of many people. But it was a close fight that he won. It wasn't, I wouldn't say it was a decisive win, but it was an impressive victory, the way he pulled it out. Does that make you pound for pound? I don't know. Fury's previous fight, so we got to take that into consideration. He looked terrible against Francis Ngannou. Was he in better shape this fight? It appeared so. It's hard to tell with Tyson Fury. I mean, he doesn't have an athletic-looking body. He was a little bit lighter for this fight than he was with Ngannou. I guess you could say he fought better this fight, but he did get hurt badly. He got hurt badly against Francis Ngannou. So is this the prime version of Tyson Fury? What did those 3 wars that he had with Deontay Wilder? Did that take something away from him? Because you've seen how Wilder looked in his last bout. I mean, he looked, god awful against.
He reminded me of Riddick Bowe after the trilogy with Holyfield.
So I'm not saying Fury shot, but you have to take things into perspective. So now we're going to go to Terrence Crawford. You could say the same thing about Errol Spence. Maybe was Errol Spence never the same after the car accident? Possibly. One of the top fighters in the world. I mean, but Terrence Crawford did not struggle with Errol Spence. I mean, he beat the brakes off of the guy. One of the best pound-for-pound fighters in boxing. I mean, it wasn't a close fight. Stopped him. Didn't have any problems at all. Terrence Crawford, I believe, he's stopped every opponent he's fought at welterweight. He stopped his last 11 opponents. All right. He started his career, I believe, at 140, but won his first title at 135, became undisputed at 140. Unified the titles. Actually, he got all the belts at 140. So he became undisputed, just like Usyk did. So I give Usyk, he did that at cruiserweight as well. Terrence Crawford did that at 140, and he did that at 147. And Terrence Crawford has never had really a competitive fight. I mean, he's knocked out, I believe, his last 11 opponents. World-class opposition. Sometimes when you're such a great fighter, you make the opponents not look world-class. So you have to take that in consideration. I mean, he hasn't had really much of a challenge. Long-winded answer on my part, but I think Terrence Crawford, he's still pound for pound the best fighter in the sport of boxing. What's your thoughts, John?
Kevin, I was going to say, man, keep going, dude. I can listen to you talk all day, brother. You're killing it over there, man. Great, tough, hard act to follow right there. Kevin, pound for pound best. No, for real, though. Terrence Crawford, for sure. Not just saying it just to join you and your greatness over there, but for real. I mean, all the reasons you said.
What about Inoue? It's just, how's Inoue fits in that?
I will go there with saying possible with Inoue. I don't mind if someone has it. Obviously, I don't mind. It's someone's opinion. They could put him anywhere. They could say I'm the best fighter in the world, and I appreciate that. But Inoue is right there. He's someone that smells blood, and that's what I like from my pound for pound guy. I like a guy that finishes. I like the shark in the water. That is my pound for pound guy. That's the guy I love. And like you mentioned, Terrence Crawford has been that guy for a long time now at 147. Yeah. So now here's what's up.
Plus, Inoue got put on his butt pretty bad in that last fight. Not saying that he wasn't impressive to get up from that.
Yes, the little guys, those engines, they burn out though.
These little tiny things.
We got to watch the shelf life on the little ones.
It's kind of like when I'm comparing those three, because they're all great fighters. Don't get me wrong, but you almost have to like nitpick at little things to say, okay, this guy's above this guy because Inoue got knocked down against, Louis Neri in the first round. He came back and stopped them, but that was something where, okay, well, I got to jot that down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Usyk's had some close fights. He's had some fights where he didn't look like Superman, like it. Against Maurice Briedis, that was kind of a close fight at cruiserweight that I kind of, watching it, I thought that Briedis won the fight. So I've never seen Terrence Crawford in a fight where I even thought was even close.
He gets better. He gets better each and every fight, in my opinion, with the level of opposition, the stakes getting higher and higher. I think that when he's inactive like he has been, it's, obviously he's going to have a fight coming up. But, I mean, that's because of the lack of opposition, worthy opposition, things get motivated for. And I think that he's the type of guy that rest does him good. He doesn't have bad habits. He keeps active. He's in the gym. He knows what he's doing, man. He's someone that I don't question at all outside of the ring in terms of habits. So, he stays fit.
He's probably training right now.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, the guy's one of the best people on planet Earth to follow an example from.
You know what I hear
outside of the ring, like, period. Like, he's a pound champion at life.
I hear his hobbies is fishing. So I mean, how much trouble can you get into fishing? I mean, unless like the fish jumps out of the water and eats you or something like that.
Terrence Bud Crawford, if you're listening, bro, please jump on the show one time. We'd love to pick your brain on what a day in the life is. Terrence Crawford, man.
That's like a hobby that keeps me out of trouble. That's why I like to go fishing. I can't do nothing wrong when I'm going fishing. You know what I mean?
That's what's up, man.
Yeah, great hobby, Terrence. That's keeping you grounded. So we're both agreeing Terrence Crawford is still the best fighter in the sport of boxing.
Yes. So that, and there's no doubt in my opinion. Now I'd follow it up with, again, either which way you want to swing it, Usyk or Inoue. I'd favor Usyk because, again, being undisputed heavyweight champ of the world. That's a big title, buddy.
Yeah. And to beat a guy 40 pounds. Yeah.
What's that, bud?
No, I was saying to beat a guy that's like 40 pounds bigger than you. I mean, that is a big accomplishment.
To come up from cruiser, he did it like the real deal Holyfield, my guy, did in front of him. It's a big deal. I got to put him at number 2. The only reason why he's number 2 is because Crawford is that fucking good.
So is Usyk an all-time great because of this victory?
Period, hands down.
Are people getting ahead of themselves here?
No,
because I'm just looking at his resume, and if you put it there with guys like
Joshua twice,
okay, I mean those, yes, but they were close fights. They weren't. I mean, he won the fights, but they were competitive fights. It wasn't like he just.
But he beat him twice, 24 rounds.
He did beat him twice. He beat Tyson Fury.
36 rounds with those two guys.
All right.
So far.
And then, but beyond that, in the heavyweight division, I mean, he doesn't have any other significant wins. And then at cruiserweight, he
he beat the two top guys outside of Deontay Wilder.
I got you, but I'm just saying. I got you, but what I'm saying is, I don't know. I mean, the longevity is not there. He doesn't have a lot of fights. It's almost, it's hard. I guess it depends what your measure or what number you're putting him at. Because if he's an all-time great, yes, you could say he's an all-time great, but he's on kind of the bottom, like the lower tier. I got to see more of him at heavyweight. I got to see him beat some of these other heavyweights that are around, because there's actually still some decent heavyweights besides, Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. I don't see those fights happening because he's already 37. No. So he's probably going to catch out kind of after this Fury rematch, unless somehow if Fury can pull off the victory in the rematch, they'll probably fight a third time, because that's what the public will be demanding.
What sucks is that we'll never see Usyk, in my opinion, obviously face a prime or a good Deontay Wilder. When I said he looked like, he reminded me of like what happened to Riddick Bowe postmortem, the Evander Holyfield trilogy. I think that's not that far off. It wasn't as bad as, Bowe looked against Galata, but, Deontay Wilder didn't look good in his last fight, man. And with those thin, skinny legs and the punch resistance probably not being as good as it was. And was it ever really that good? I could never really crap on anyone's punch resistance, man. You get punched in the face, you never really know how you're going to handle something, especially if you don't see it. Certain shots you just don't see, and some hurt legit body shots. I mean, one and done, you could hit it and quit it with some of those shots, those guys were in tough fights. Those 3 fights, as we see Fury and Wilder progress, those 3 fights are going to start coming up in conversation more and more, just like we saw with Joshua after Klitschko. That fight, although Joshua got the better of it, that fight messed him up for a little while, at least mentally, because now he starts to look the part with confidence again. But remember, that fight was hard. That was a hard fight a very long time ago.
Well, I mean, I'm as for Deontay Wilder, Wilder just, I don't know.
That was my guy, man. That was my guy.
But he can't. Sucks. He kind of looks terrible, really. I mean, if you look back, he looks terrible pretty much in every fight until he knocks you out. Because, I mean, he can't box. So I think people, when they see even this Joseph Parker fight, he didn't look bad. But if you really look back on his career, I mean, how many fights have you seen him in where you're like, wow, he looks the Berman Stavern fight, the first
one. That's it.
Yeah. All his other fights, I mean, he's just kind of lumbers around. He's
Mark
awkward.
Brillin's jab, bro. Mark Brillin's jab was in the house that night, bro.
He's kind of just looking for a 1-2, and when he lands it, the fight's over. And usually you just forget about all the other stuff that happened in the fight because his knockouts just kind of consume your mind.
Dude, his knockouts are the best, though. I mean, let's face facts, though. When Deontay Wilder hits you and you know it, man, when he sends you to hell, that's where you go, straight to hell. That's what I love about him. I haven't been that excited about a heavyweight, Kev, since Mike Tyson's punching power, man.
That being said, I want to move on because I plan on throwing you a curveball.
Sure.
I've been on a couple. I was on a couple shows this last week or so, other podcasts, and I kind of posed this question. So I wanted to pose it to you. So let's see. Ryan Garcia versus Canelo next year, September. Am I crazy?
Not at all. Not at all. Both guys could come to some kind of Canelo weight agreement. There's a ton of money to be made in that fight. Maybe they have their own silent agreement of maybe a trilogy. Maybe they have their own things worked out. You're not crazy at all. I think it's a great idea.
And you think that's a fight that the public would be interested in? They would buy?
1,000%.
Is the weight too much, or you think Ryan Garcia could fill into 168? I think so. He's a big kid. I think he could. I'm sorry?
He'll get to 160. I see him. He's filling out, bro. He got shoulders now. He got a back on him. He can fill out.
And is that so that's basically a fight for the casuals. The casuals would be into something like that.
Yeah,
correct?
All he's got to do is hang out with McGregor for a couple, a training camp. He'll stack up real nice. He'll be fine.
And pay-per-view buys. Just give me estimate what you think that would sell.
Oh, that'd be old school. You're talking about the heyday. People would pay for that, and they would love to pay for the comfort of not having to stream or go out. If they couldn't get a ticket here in Vegas, we're lucky. We're right by all this.
Is that a 2 million pay-per-view buy fight if they can pull it off easily?
Easy.
And that definitely gets like ESPN coverage and that sort of thing.
It gets so much shoulder programming. I think it would be the biggest fight since Mayweather and McGregor.
And since we're kind of on this, I'm not even gonna just put the tag there. I'm just gonna ask you before we move on to the next topic. Since we're kind of talking about mainstream fights, Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, that's got more attention than this heavyweight fight this last weekend. What's your thoughts on that? Is that going to be good for the sport of boxing, or is that something that just not going to have a negative or positive effect? What's your views on that? Because there is actually a pretty good undercard that they got on there, but yeah, go on.
I think it's great. I think that what Paul and Mike are doing is fine. I think any news is good news as long as no one's getting hurt or doing anything illegal or anything like that. I think if both guys clear their medical, they have the right to earn and do whatever they want with their respective bodies, as long as, again, as long as they're, going obeying the laws. I'm fine with it.
You just said something there that just kind of got me thinking. You said if nobody gets hurt, do you think somebody's going to get hurt in this fight, or you don't think you think this is more like a gentleman's agreement, or what?
I think a lot of people are looking, and I don't want to speak for anyone in popular consensus, but I do hear a lot of people concerned about Mike Tyson's well-being because of his age, of course. And we'd be crazy not to consider that. But
is this going to be something where there's kind of like a gentleman's agreement there, where they're not going to really go out and try to tear each other's head off, and they're just going to kind of go through? I mean, they're going to pull back on their punches a little bit is what I'm saying. Do you see that, or is it going to be a situation where maybe they discuss that, and then if one of them doesn't follow the script, then Tyson's going to kind of go batshit?
I think that's a legit hypothetical. My thing is that I think Mike Tyson at the end of the day is Mike Tyson, and he's going to be street. He's going to be Mike. Mike's going to do what he wants to do. He's book and street smart. And
he's going to go back to Brooklyn. He's going to go back to Brownsville for this one. Is that what you're saying?
Dude, and what I was going to say about his age, he has almost 60 years of fighting, whether it's in a boxing ring, a street, his mental state, life in general, things that I think Mike has turned it around. He's a beautiful human being, and I love what he's done for himself. And I am so thankful he's making money and still out there earning and still relevant, and the story's ending nice. And, hopefully he'll be fine in the ring, as we always wish for all our fighters. Now, having said that, he's got all this fighting wisdom under his belt, and he's in great shape. Dude, the last thing to go is your punching power. He's got wisdom. Honestly, what I think is going to happen, I think Jake Paul is going to be in there with Mike Tyson, and I think he's going to know what's going to be in front of him, a strong puncher, and he's going to be a little nervous, having fun with the moment. Some weird shit's going to happen. Mike's going to catch him with a shot. I believe that's going to be very hard and drop Paul, but it's going to be an awkward way where it's not quite legal. And Paul's not going to be able to continue, and the fight's going to be a no contest. Mike Tyson will get his knockout. Everyone will be happy. We'll all get what we know is coming to this kid. Yeah. This kid will be happy. He's a YouTuber. Yeah, man, I took a shot from Mike Tyson.
If the fight goes
cool.
I think if they have some weird rule or something, that the fight goes the distance, it's a draw or something.
Dude, they're changing the rules all the time.
I don't know. I don't really understand the point of if you want to make a fight, make the fight. If you want it to be an exhibition, make the exhibition. I'll be honest with you, I think they're going to try to fool the public, and the problem is they might be fooling themselves, because I think the fans don't really care if the fight's an exhibition or not, because
they don't give a shit.
Because in reality, a 59-year-old guy, or however old he is, fighting a guy that's 29 years old, regardless of whether you calling it a pro fight or not, it's an exhibition, because what kind of real fight do you expect to get from a guy that's that old? against a guy that's that much younger who has limited boxing experience. So it's almost like they're kind of trying to level the playing field by having a former fighter who's so old against a guy who's very limited, but obviously, he trains and he's an athlete, and because he's probably in better condition because he's 30 years younger, that kind of evens things out. But all this other nonsense they're doing to try to legitimize it, I think might backfire. I'm actually going to throw you another curveball since we're kind of talking about this. Am I crazy? So let me throw you another one. Canelo versus Mike Tyson.
No, Canelo.
Is that something people would pay for? Or
you know what? When Canelo is like 60 years old, maybe he'll call Tyson. Tyson be like 90. Like, yo, you want to fight? Canelo don't need to be doing that shit right now. He could pick on the people he wants to pick on, take on a fight like a Garcia fight.
Is that a dangerous fight? Is that a dangerous fight for? Well, I guess if it's not a dangerous fight for Jake Paul, I mean, it wouldn't be dangerous for Canelo. I mean,
who knows with Canelo though, Kev? To be honest with you, I mean, I want to see Canelo fight Benavidez, but do we get that? Probably not. I mean, with Canelo at this point in time, I honestly think your Garcia thing is the most logical based off of Canelo's track record lately.
I just think the way that boxing is now, with the kind of uneducated younger generation of fans that they're trying to bring in, and they're so fixated on social media and followers and all this other junk. I think you could sell anybody. It's like you could sell dog shit to somebody nowadays and put some sprinkles on there, and they will buy it because they like the sprinkles. They're blinded by the dog shit, and all they see is the sprinkles that are on top. Does that make sense?
What, though? We're looking at media as
it's kind of like it's like the lipstick on a pig type of analogy that people always use. That's kind of what this fight really is. I don't know what. So in this sense, what would be the lipstick and what's the pig? Is the boxing world the pig and the lipstick is?
I could tell you what it is. It's identity. What does boxing want to identify as? Like here's what it is. If you look at everything that's out there nowadays, everything identifies as entertainment for the most part. Okay. Sports, don't get it twisted. It's entertainment. Why did baseball make their game shorter, change the rules, faster? Entertainment value. They want to bring in more people.
I didn't know baseball games are shorter now.
Well, not short. They go by faster because they change the rules. You can't hang out on the mound and take more than 10 seconds between pitches and shit.
Oh, gotcha. I didn't know that.
Gloves.
Okay.
No, they changed a lot of stuff. That's why sports are always evolving. What's the one sport that never changes its rules, that's stuck in its old ways? Boxing. Okay. Why don't boxing do things and put attention more internal affairs type situation where we look at what's wrong with the sport instead of trying to paint all this fresh
because it's not. Well, the reason why is because boxing doesn't operate like a sport,
right? So that's the real thing. Instead of putting this fresh coat of paint on it and drawing it like it's like this beautiful new thing, with that's not this ugly thing internally. Boxing needs to clean up from the inside. It's too confusing to people. There's too many belts, too many fucking weight classes, too many networks, too many excuses, too many. What is that? Is that a foul? Isn't that a punch? Did that land cleanly? Who's that judge? Didn't that judge blow that last fight? What network is this on? Like, it's too much. Boxing needs to internally repair itself to get an identity so people know what it is and what it's supposed to be watching. That's why boxing, no one knows what the fuck's going on.
Well, I think it just more has to do with part of the chaos in the sport of boxing. It's part of its appeal. You never know what to expect. You don't know what you're getting. And sometimes when people know what they're getting, the interest is not there. You know what I mean? So for example, Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. It's almost like the analogy. It's like I was driving the other day actually, and I saw a bus hit the bus stop or something, or hit another car or something. There's a lot of traffic because you don't see that every day. So same deal here. Kind of same thing where I'm asking you about Garcia and Canelo. It just seems such out of the realm of possibility that the fact if the fight got made, people are gonna be so intrigued by it. Like, does he have a
Kev,
shot?
I think you're got a wonderful idea there, and I think that people are going to be talking about this when they listen to the show.
You know what? And something I'm going to bring in here too is I asked you, am I crazy? When it comes to money, and it can generate dollars, it's not crazy because it can generate money, and the fact that it doesn't matter if it's crazy, because if you asked me about a year ago, Mike Tyson against Jake Paul, I mean, I would have laughed at you. I would have said it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. But then when you think about it, it's the fact that it's so ridiculous that's where the appeal is. You know, people want to see the train wreck. They want to see, can Mike Tyson knock him out? Can he be the Tyson that we remember?
Look at how important combat sports has become again in this world, whether it's bare knuckle boxing, UFC, Bellator, the list goes on and on. It will always be there since, the gladiators back in Roman times, man, and we love it, and it's getting crazier and crazier, and there'll always be a thirst for boxing. And that's why I love so much where the sport has now shifted in terms of, like, Kev, let's bookend it. Let's talk about what's going on with Saudi Arabia, and why I think it's been good for boxing. A lot of people, and I can see this point, and I was on the fence about it too. Shouldn't we keep it here? Boxing needs to repair itself in America. The interest, and like you said, Kev, the reason why I'm bringing this up, where the money's at. Look at how great boxing looks over there. It looks like it's being treated like royalty, like the NFL does in America. That's making boxing look good.
You know what? The thing that I don't understand is, so obviously Saudi, they're not throwing these cards to make a profit. I mean, it's pretty obvious. They're just throwing money out there because they want to pad, or I guess image washing, I guess it was the term that's being used. They're washing their bad human rights image with sports. So, but my mindset is, okay, if that's what you're going to do, that's what you're going to do. Obviously, whatever you're actually, the product that you're putting out there, you're not getting a return on it from pay-per-view buys or whatnot. So why even put it on pay-per-view? Why not just cut some deal with the network and have it for free for everybody to watch? Because obviously these fights they're having in Saudi Arabia, they're not getting very many pay-per-view buys. I mean, they're all low numbers. So I'm just wondering, what's the strategy here? I mean, if the whole message here is to get eyeballs on your country and make your country look good, why put the product on the smallest platform possible? I mean, something about that doesn't make sense. So,
because boxing's about the one night stand, and it's unfortunate about the one off, the wine and dine you for a night. You got to pay for it. You get laid, and then that's it.
No, I mean, I get that, but I guess, why couldn't they strike a deal with the network and put it on for free?
Because boxing does it. Nobody wants, no network wants to pick it up.
Is that what you're so
they
what
want,
about this?
They want that time buy shit. They want that time buy shit. No network wants to invest in boxing right now because it's too much of a risk.
No, I'm not asking the network to contribute anything. I mean, obviously these guys have boatloads of money just to throw away like they're at a strip club. So if they can give Tyson Fury, I don't know how much he made. Let's just say he made $75 million and Usyk made $40 million. What's it to go buy network time?
Because they want so much money. That's why they cancel themselves out of the networks, because they get paid so much, because they know by rogue independent shit, like they'll make the money that way. That's why they're going to Saudi, because Saudi's paying for it right now.
No. What I'm saying is, why can't, if they're paying these fighters this much money, okay, that basically, like, they're not investing in the sport of boxing. They're investing in their image, the country.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they're investing in. So for them to go to a network and give the network money so it can be broadcast for free, so everybody in the world can see, oh, how great their country is in these events they do. To me, that would make more sense to do that than to put it on pay-per-view. Do you understand if you're going to wash your image, you want everybody to see it. You don't want to put it on the smallest platform possible.
Kev, I tell you what, man, whatever you had for breakfast this morning, I want some of that shit. You're an idea man today, bro.
I don't know. It's just some of the things I'm seeing people do, and I'm trying to wrap my head around what the logic is. But I guess when you have unlimited amount of money to spend, logic just goes completely out the window. And that's kind of what I'm seeing with these Saudis. But anyways, they're giving us good fights, so I'm not knocking them. I'm just trying to see how they can make the product more accessible to more people instead of putting it on pay-per-view. But anyways, maybe that's because they have they're broadcasting with the zone. So that's probably what the deal is there. But anyways, moving on from that, I'm just going to go through these next few just real quick because I got to go in a little bit. Sure. But pay-per-view, Tank versus Frank Martin. You looking forward to that? Is that a little bit under the radar? I believe it's in a couple of weeks.
That is so under the radar. Is there
not
a better fight?
What's just being promoted? What's going on with that?
Is there not a better fight right now at that weight class?
I think there's some better fights, but as far as who's available, that's probably the best available opponent.
Maybe I'm the one that feels that Frank is ready for this assignment too soon, but I think we got a hell of a fight here.
I think it's a good fight. I just don't know if it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna do that well. I mean, this is fights on pay-per-view. I mean, if this was back in the days where we had regular HBO and Showtime, and this was a main event, this would be an excellent top of the card.
Those days are gone, Kev. I miss them.
Yeah, too, I know. They put David Benavidez on the undercard against Alexander Vodstik. Pretty good co-feature. Interested to see how David Benavidez does at 175 against a pretty skilled boxer. Not a boxer like Andre who's smaller, but a boxer who's bigger. Yeah. That might give him a lot of issues. What do you think about that fight?
Well, I think it's an amazing fight. I think Tank definitely has the advantage in the experience and power. And just crafty. He's very crafty on the inside. I like the way he fights a lot on the inside. He does a lot of work that I think is appreciated by a lot of people who really get into that sort of evaluating what a fighter's tendencies are. I like to look at what guys do on the inside a lot. And I tell you what, he's a great fighter on the inside. He sets up good body attacks, sets up his hooks really nice and tight. He's got a great hook. Martin's an excellent boxer as well. So I think it's a great fight, and I'm going to lean towards Tank, but I think Frank gets a great amount of experience and makes a good name for himself as a great fighter and someone to look at that weight class.
So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I guess if Frank Martin can take his punch, it should be a pretty competitive fight, and a fight that he can win.
Yeah, the thing is, you said could take the punch. That's going to be the key to victory, I think, if Martin can get a key to victory.
Yeah, I'm actually just interested more than the fight itself to just see the tactics that both fighters are going to bring to the table. I mean, mostly Tank Davis is kind of more a counter puncher. Frank Martin can come forward or counter. He's probably he's pretty good at both. So I mean, he's not a one-dimensional fighter. He's probably the opponent for Tank because Frank Martin is gonna probably be the guy coming forward, but he doesn't come forward recklessly. He's a good boxer, and I believe he's a southpaw as well. Correct?
Yeah. And the thing about, Davis, again, like I said, great at hooking and just everything about him, the inside fighting and that experience. But you got to realize, too, he hasn't fought in a minute, too. So, he's a counterpuncher, like you had mentioned. How much does that play a factor into the fight? Now, again, he's probably training it in the ring. But Davis, we got to wait and see where his mental state is. If he could be dialed in and focus on his career, he's got amazing potential. But we know what comes with the lifestyle is that part of that lifestyle is a reason why he's so explosive. So you got to be careful. You don't want to make him too nice and neat. We got to have that instinct in him too, that makes him a fighter. That's what people don't understand. When they're like, why is these fighters always acting crazy? What?
Well, because they get hit in the head for a living.
Huh?
I mean, it's just like football players, why are they so crazy? I mean,
bottom line, hey, guess what, too? They're kids with money.
Like if you banged your head on a wall like about 100 times every day, you'd probably be crazy.
Kev, let me ask you a question. And this is not a bully in me, but I'm just saying in general. Okay. Say you're a 20-year-old kid, right? 20-something-year-old, money, good looking. You could kick just about anyone's ass in the room if they challenged you. You'd feel pretty confident. You'd probably go out there and every once in a while get in some trouble every once in a while until you learn better.
Well, until
that's what
you
these kids are doing. Now, I don't like when they're out there causing trouble, domestic disputes. We don't like anything that these kids are doing bad. None of it. Unfortunately, they grow up in hard conditions. Yeah. They have to learn. And hopefully Gervonta Davis sets himself straight.
To be honest, it's a lack of maturity. And I think especially nowadays, it's almost like it probably used to be like this when we were growing up, but I think it's more magnified as everything somebody's doing has to be like broadcast to the world. And it's like, but if you do something good, you're kind of like looked down on nowadays. And they want to maintain an image that, because of the rap music or whatnot, that's kind of what they're emulating. They want to look like the real. I mean, what gang member spends all day in the gym?
Kev, check this out. I go to open a door for a woman nowadays, right? Because I got tattoos and whatever. Yeah, I dress the way I dress or whatever. She looks like I'm about to jack her wallet. Nobody's nice to anyone anymore. Everyone's always looking to. I hate to sound like an asshole, but I mean I'm nice to everybody. But positive dude at all times. But people nowadays, bro, shit. Everyone's like, yo. So I get it. You're out there. Yeah. People are out and about. Shit happens. Hopefully Gervonta Davis and everyone else, not to just point the fingers at him, because it's been a lot of us out there that have gotten in trouble over the years.
Well, yeah, hopefully but he's done some real dumb. He's done some real dumb stuff. I mean,
he needs to focus.
He's not. I mean, he's definitely not a role model. I mean, by any means. But I'm gonna move on from that because for some reason that fight just has no buzz. I don't know why. Maybe I haven't seen it promoted.
Nobody's promoting much of anything really anymore. If you notice it.
So I was gonna ask you about that.
Fight promotion has been terrible lately.
PBC's future with Amazon. Is there a future? I mean, what's going on? I mean, mind you, I don't have Amazon Prime. My wife has it, but I don't use her account to watch movies or anything. So I don't purchase things on Amazon.
I got to talk to some people I know on the inside about that.
Do you have Amazon Prime or?
Yeah, but I haven't had.
But you don't really watch any.
The only TV I've been watching is Yankee baseball, movies with the wife, and.
Yeah, because I haven't seen any advertising for anything. I mean, I did see advertising for Canelo, but the Canelo Munguia fight. But
right.
Actually, I was gonna ask you about that, but maybe we can talk about that. Actually, you know what? Let's move on from PBC because we really have no idea what's going on with that. Maybe that's something that we can talk about after.
I'll get some insider scoop for everyone next week, and it might be tying into one of the guests that we'll have for the future, Kev. So more on that.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to talk about, kind of get back to that topic in the future, maybe after this next pay-per-view, and then see, how well that fight does, and then maybe we'll have a better prediction. So obviously Canelo, he had that fight on Cinco de Mayo weekend against Jaime Munguia. What's next for him? I mean, his performance to me was, he did what he was supposed to do. I mean, everybody thought he was going to win. It wasn't a fight that anybody really expected Munguia to win. So what's next? I mean, it seems
Kev,
like he has no I don't want to say he has no balls, but he just doesn't want to fight David Benavidez, and I do not understand why. Why does he not want to fight David Benavidez?
Because he's going to get his ass kicked. I was in the elevator with that dude out here in Vegas, Benavidez. When I walked in that elevator, and I'm 160 pounds, 5'8". Benavidez is a big guy. He's a big guy.
So dude, I got around, in the elevator.
I never met him in person before. I never met him in person. I get in this elevator, and I'm like, is that David Bennett? It's 7 o'clock in the morning in Vegas. I'm like, I had the second take because I wasn't sure because it was so big. And I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, David Benavidez, what's up, man? He's like, yo, what's up, dude? He's like, you follow boxing, huh? I'm like, yeah. We started rapping and stuff. But he's a big boy, Kev. I don't know. I mean,
okay. So I always ask my boy Fareed whenever he's on my shows. So I'll ask you the same question. And I call this the $200 million question. So the $200 million question is, how much money is it going to take for Canelo to get his butt kicked by David Benavidez? So how much money does he need?
You just answered the question. Pay him that amount, he'll get in there.
So it's $200 million is what he needs to basically step through those ropes to take a beating.
Which means ain't ever gonna happen.
So it's not. So you don't see it. You don't see Saudis coming up with, because I mean, it seems like they just like got an oil well somewhere, which is cashing it, and they just pumping it out like it's nothing.
Too risky. You know why? It's too risky right now for Canelo at this stage of his career. That's the bottom line.
Why?
It's too risky to take on Benavidez.
Okay. So that being said, if he's not going to fight Benavidez, I mean, I've had this discussion with so many people. Well, actually, not so many people, but whenever I'm on a show, it almost seems like it's the $1 to $200 million question always comes up. So if he's not fighting him, what fight is out there for him that people are gonna buy? Because his appeal is
or Ryan Garcia.
All right, so Terrence so his next fight,
smaller men for equal money, almost
Terrence Crawford I'm sorry, Cinco de Mayo will be. Well, actually, we still have September, so he might have another fight. So September is, who's his opponent for September?
Canelo, assuming he fights in September.
Okay, but
he's doing an event at the Sphere, though. Boxing's not going to touch that. The UFC's got the Sphere booked for September for Independence weekend. So
why?
Boxing ain't doing shit that weekend.
Why would the UFC do that?
Because they did it to great success last September when Canelo didn't face Benavidez the first time.
Yeah, but they didn't do it at the Sphere.
No, they did it at T-Mobile.
Yeah,
but this year Dana wants the Sphere, and Dana gets what he wants, and that's what he got.
I think he's insane.
He's going to do killing there, Kev.
I don't know. You think Mexican fans are going to go and pay that kind of money to go to the Sphere?
They did at T-Mobile. They certainly will there for sure. Absolutely.
I don't know. I don't think the tickets for Sphere is going to be as cheap as T-Mobile Arena. If you've seen some of the prices,
they'll sell.
All right. You know what? We can agree to disagree, but I don't know. I don't know anything about UFC. I don't know what fighters they have that appeal to the Mexican contingency. So I have no idea. So I'll take whatever you say. I mean, you're knowledgeable on UFC, so if you think it can sell, then so be it. I don't see it, but it's what it is. So I guess you're saying they're not going to go head to head. So.
No, and I don't think Canelo fights more than once a year at this point. I think we're at that stage of his career. And that's the point that I was making about Benavidez, him not willing to face him, is because it's a bad time for Canelo. I think Canelo would have done it 5 years ago, maybe. Say even if Benavidez is as good as he is now, I think Canelo takes that fight 5 years ago. I don't think at this stage of Canelo's career he takes that fight against Benavidez now.
And it's not because he's scared. It's just more
too risky. It's too risky. He's had too many fights. 3 with G. a great career
He
overall.
just wants easy fights, basically,
Multiple
is what
weight
you're saying.
classes, Kev. Multiple weight classes, Hall of Famer. He could make great paydays against smaller men and potentially beat them. Crawford, I don't think he beats, to be honest with you, at this stage. But if he goes after Garcia,
Really?
absolutely winnable fight for him.
I don't know. To be honest with you, if Canelo retired tomorrow, I wouldn't lose any sleep.
Neither would I, Kev, to be honest with
So
you.
let's move on. Well, actually, we could talk about. Well, okay. Oh, since I clicked it, any fights not on the schedule you want to see? Anything that we're missing here that?
Well, I think we hit the nail on the head with Canelo and Benavidez, and I think
yes.
everyone's
Okay.
tired of beating that one down.
Right.
As of right now,
how about
nice?
How about I don't know. You know who I actually, and I think he's fighting on this June 1st card, a guy that hasn't fought in a little while that I want to see fight the top guys is David Morrell. I think that guy is, I wouldn't say he's a superstar in the making.
Isn't he on the undercard of the Crawford pay-per-view?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I believe.
Yeah, what's up with him and his like every 2 years fighting?
Who?
Like what is Morrell? He don't fight much, right?
I think he fought this year. But see, his fights are like, they're so quick. They're such like usually 2-3 round knockouts. And the opponents, I mean, nobody wants to fight the guy. So it's kind of hard for you to make a name when you only have 10 fights and pretty much all your fights last 3-4 rounds and you haven't really been in any difficult ones. I think the most difficult fight that I seen him in, he was fighting this guy. I can't remember what the guy's name is. He's from one of those like Tajikistan or one of those countries that I can't pronounce. But he beat this guy. I mean, the guy was tough as nails. It was one of those guys that could soak up a lot of punishment. He beat that guy so bad and knocked him out. And that guy, I think, is like had a brain bleed or something. I mean, the guy took a hell of a beating for 12 rounds and then finally got knocked out in the 12th round.
Right. Probably
should have been pulled out a little bit earlier. But yeah, he was like his own worst enemy. And yeah, David Morrell, he's the guy to keep an eye on. I mean, he
hits hard, and
he's at 175 now. He's going to be fighting at 175. Beterbiev and Bivol, that fight got pushed back. But I mean, David Morrell, I mean, I'll be honest with you, as good as Beterbiev looks, as good as Bivol looks, this guy has all the tools. I could see him beating either of those guys.
That's a fight that I was upset that got postponed again, was Bivol and Beterbiev.
Yeah. I was looking forward to seeing that one.
You see what it says on the bottom of the screen? Any fights not on the schedule you want to see?
Yeah.
That's the one. That was on the schedule.
It was on the schedule, yes. Anything else you
no, Kev,
want to say before we go, or just shout out what you're up to with your YouTube and whatnot? Let everybody know about that.
Oh yeah, great. Thanks, Kevin. First of all, thank you for having me back on. It was a blast to talk about boxing, and Riggs and Murtaugh are back, baby, back in action. But yeah, you can follow me right now. I'm at Retune on YouTube and also everywhere like Spotify, iHeart, iTunes, all the good stuff that goes along with it. Be doing shows. More importantly, putting out drum videos, instructional videos, showing you guys how to do things. If you're interested on how to play the drums, check us out. Retune Media on YouTube. I'll be posting videos next month, educational videos showing you how to play some beats in all styles of music.
Word. Sounds
just
good,
look
man.
for Johnny Sig or John Signorella.
Okay. Good stuff, man. Yeah, good fights in the last few weeks. You know, we had Devin Haney and Garcia and that whole debacle and all that stuff. We didn't even really get to talk about that today, which is okay. It's kind of like beating a dead horse at this point.
Yeah, we could get back into that.
But yeah, we could definitely talk about that another time. But yeah, it's just a pretty good show. I think we kind of covered some interesting
Kev, great
stuff.
show, man. I appreciate it.
This was really impromptu. You know, I kind of like doing shows with you because we can kind of just go off on a tangent and just have fun with it. So, but anyways, great show. Let's definitely link up and do this again sometime soon. So thanks for coming on, John. Episode number 41. Let's build this channel quickly so I can get to 1,000 subs.